Boy, my battery's almost dead. Now see, I can pull this out of there. Get that out of there. Bye-bye. And I've got these. I'm going to put this down there. And it says put it over the bolts. Now see, before we do this, let's talk about the bolts, shall we? Now on this one, I made a determination that I'm just going to leave these bolts sticking up. Okay? Because I think they're plenty tall and I won't have to cut off the bolt length of it, because the cap should snap back on there. See, we're gonna end up putting these down first, and then a washer goes over that, the nut, and then this cap snaps on there and it's gonna snap on. Okay, but man, I probably should take those off just to show it to you. I'm not gonna do it this time, and I'll explain that in a minute. Okay, here's the bolts that they give you. See how it's oblong? The reason for that is, you see on the herkel flange, see how this has a wider area? So see, you would put it in that way, and then you would twist it sideways and slip it underneath this next go. And then you would put the washer on there and a nut. And see on this one, the big area is up here. So I'd put it sideways, slide it in, twist that, because you want that thing twisted. You don't want it going the same direction as everything else, because it could kind of pop out of one side and maybe come up at an angle. That's the last thing you want to do. See, so how I'm sliding it in there? Then I would twist it sideways like that, and then hold it, put the washer on there and the nut. And that's where we're at. That's where we're at right now. Okay? And I like to double nut it, meaning I've got the washer there and the nut. That way this is nice and sturdy. I've got these going straight across, and that's right where the toilet's going to go. Okay? And that looks pretty good. If anything, this one here should have been forward just a little bit, going straight. And I don't know, I might even want to do that. I might want to do that. Let's just see what happens here. If I slide that forward, see, there's some wax in there, and I probably shouldn't be doing this without gloves on and everything. But yeah, I can slide it forward a little bit, and then tighten that back down. Okay, because you want to get that tight. That way these don't slide around. In the old days, they used to just give you a plastic nut. And in fact, the new days, they still do it. And I don't agree with that at all. Okay. They give you, let's find the plastic nut. Okay, here's a nut. And see, that's designed to hold the bolt straight up, and you would push this down on there. And just, and then that holds that tight from falling over, okay? But I don't like doing that, because then when you get ready to tighten this up, as you're tightening it, you know, after you put the toilet on, you wouldn't have that nut there, okay? They only give you one set of nuts in here. And so if you don't have any nuts down here, the nuts that hold the toilet, that held the toilet down, okay? Remember, we had this, and then this, and that. I would take this washer and this nut, and I would do that and tighten it down, because then in the little package comes one nut, and then I can use that nut and washer over the top once I put the toilet down, and then put this down and put the cap on. Okay, so I never have to really buy two sets anyways, but in this case they did us a favor. They've got those tightened up like that. That way, after we set the toilet down there, and when we put the nut and washer on there, the washer and the nut, then as you tighten the nut, you know, if this were to slide just a little bit, if you just had the plastic nut on there, this could slide. This part here, instead of being like that, could slide like that, and it could possibly come out half of that area and kind of pop out like this. Does that make sense? It could pop out that way at an angle, and it's not going to be underneath the herkel flange. You're going to be like, oh brother. If you used a wax ring, you're going to have to pull the toilet back up, clean the wax ring off, because once you try one wax ring, you can't do it more than once. You're going to have to clean it up, try it again. And that's why I always say double nut it, okay? Now, let's get on to the next step.